Okay, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Always good to have you here.
Yeah.
So this one, you sent me some stuff about rugby,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
and I have to admit, it was a little bit disturbing to
Yeah.
read
Oh, yeah.
some of the stuff about Steven Kitshoff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
This guy who plays for South Africa,
I mean, it's a
world champion.
it's scary. It's really, really scary.
Yeah, I mean, I know rugby's a rough sport, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it.
But this was just, it kind of took it to another level.
And the fact that he didn't even realize how bad it was at first. I mean,
That's what really got me.
that's
Like he kept playing, right?
Yeah, you just kept going. Yeah.
So let's just sort of like set the scene here. For people who maybe aren't super familiar with rugby, what happened here?
So Kitshoff, he's in a scrum. Okay. Now, a scrum, that's sort of like, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like the two
They
teams.
kind of like interlock. Yeah.
They interlock, yeah, heads down, and they're basically pushing against each other with all their might to try and get the ball right.
And this is like
It's
where brute force
brute force, exactly.
wins, right? I mean, it's
Part of the game, yeah.
a test of
It's like a mini war, within bigger war.
exactly. And so he's in this scrum, and like you were saying, it seemed like a pretty routine scrum, right?
Right, yeah, nothing unusual as far as we know.
And then suddenly
pop, pop, pop.
pop, pop, pop.
Yeah,
Three distinct cracking noises.
yeah. And I gotta say, like, reading that in the article
Yeah.
just sent shivers down my spine. Like, I could almost hear it,
Yeah, I mean, it really brings home the physicality, the sheer force involved in this sport.
So he hears these pops, and what does he think?
Well, in the heat of the moment, adrenaline's pumping.
Mm.
You don't always register pain right away.
Right. So he thought it was maybe like a stinger,
Like a pinched nerve or something.
Yeah, something like that. Which to be fair can happen in contact sports.
Right.
But this was way more serious.
Way more serious.
Yeah.
Stinger.
Yeah. And the doctor, the specialist, the guy who treated him, he said, and I'm quoting here, 2 millimeters from death.
2 millimeters. Just let that sink in for a moment.
2 millimeters. So help us understand this, right?
Yeah.
Like what made this injury so close to being fatal?
Okay, so think about the neck, right?
Oh.
It's this incredibly vital, but also incredibly vulnerable area.
Yeah, I mean it's
spinal cord.
supporting your head.
Exactly. It's like this major highway between your brain and the rest of your body, carrying all these essential signals.
Right.
And in Kitshoff's case, the injury was to his cervical spine, right, which is the upper part of the spine in your neck.
Right.
And it was so severe that it was literally, like you said, 2 millimeters from his brain canal. So like, if it had been just a tiny bit worse,
Yeah.
I mean, like,
We might be having a very different conversation.
we might be talking about a tragedy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the slightest swelling at that point, it could have compressed his spinal cord.
And that could have led to
Paralysis.
or even
Or death, yeah.
death. Yes. So thank goodness, obviously he got treatment, right?
Oh, yeah, immediately.
And they were able to do surgery, right?
Yeah, so they performed surgery to stabilize his spine
Mm-hmm.
and prevent further damage. What they did was they fused the damaged vertebrae together,
Okay.
basically, joining them permanently.
Okay. So that provides stability, right?
Yes, stability, exactly. But
Yeah.
but it also means, he's going to have less flexibility in his neck.
Right. So surgery done, obviously a huge relief, but what does the road back look like for him? I mean, can he even play rugby again?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
All right.
I mean, it's going to be a long road, no question about it. There's going to be intense physiotherapy,
Mm-hmm.
really focusing on regaining strength, as much flexibility as possible.
Yeah.
And the articles you shared, they mentioned they're also going to be working on proprioception.
Proprioception. Now that's a big word. What's that all about?
It's basically your body's awareness of its position in space. Right.
So like knowing where your limbs are
Exactly.
without even looking.
Right. So for an athlete, that's crucial, right? You got to
Yeah.
be able to move quickly, react instinctively without having to think about it too much.
Right. So I guess it's kind of like retraining his body to move safely and
Yeah, and efficiently. Yeah.
yeah. But even with the best care in the world, are are there potential long-term effects from an injury like this?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there are always risks, right?
Yeah.
So chronic pain, stiffness, even headaches,
Uh-huh.
those are possibilities. And of course, the risk of re-injury is always there.
Right, right. And reading about Kitchoff, he seems like such a determined guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's quoted as saying, "I've always been a warrior for my team."
Mm.
And that kind of warrior mentality, it's almost glorified in rugby.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's part of the culture.
Yeah, but when does it become too much?
That's a good question. I mean, where do we draw the line between pushing through pain and risking long-term damage?
Right.
It's a tough one,
Yeah.
and ultimately it's gonna be Kitshoff's decision, right?
Right.
But obviously he's gonna need to listen to the medical team, get their advice,
Yeah. Right.
assess the risks carefully.
So we've got this incredibly severe injury,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This guy who's a fighter, who's determined to overcome it.
Absolutely.
And then we've got this huge uncertainty about what the future holds.
Right.
So it really makes you think, like, what does this case tell us about the inherent risks involved in a sport like rugby, even for the best of the best?
I mean, it's a stark reminder that these athletes they're pushing their bodies to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
And sometimes, those limits, they get pushed too far.
Right.
And that can have serious
Yeah.
consequences.
Yeah. I mean, Kitshoff's case, it really makes you think about the balance between passion and safety, right?
Absolutely.
About the long-term
Choices
consequences.
athletes have to make.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ponder.
Yeah. Well, some heavy stuff to ponder.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say we're all hoping for the best for Kitshoff, whatever that may look like.
Absolutely.
Whether he can come back or whether he has to make some tough choices.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a long life ahead of him, hopefully, and
Got to think about that too.
absolutely. Well, we'll be keeping our fingers crossed for him.
Definitely.
And yeah, thanks again for sharing your expertise on this really
It was a pleasure.
pretty intense case.
It was. Yeah.
All right. And to all of you out there listening, thanks for joining us.
Take care.
Yeah, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.